Hey everybody, good morning. It's Jillian with Jilly Juice LLC, coming at you from different perspectives, trying to find the best way to say the same thing, reaching all standards of listening, reaching all types of listening, and also understanding the world that we live in and the changes we are going through. And so I just want to say hello, hey Odd. I appreciate all of you guys, really. You guys are such a, I don't know, you guys are such information, such a vast amount of information. And so we are working with each other. So I appreciate all of you. Um, and so, yeah, the last couple of days, yesterday, I definitely felt still the coding of the body when it's going through that menses portion. So when I get up early at 4 in the morning and then I have to take a nap around 12 or 1 or 10, it means, and I'm eating like pasta, because usually that's what I would, when I was PMSing really hard during those times prior to all this, I would eat like a pound of pasta and then just go to sleep. And that was my way of dealing with the PMDD. Now I realize why I ate pasta during that time, because it has the carbs, it has the sugar, it has the phosphates, and the sleeping helps with the recoding. That's why it's so important to sleep. That's why you cannot um, like minimize sleep. Sleep is just like the best thing, especially during the recoding process, the upgrade. And so I was listening this morning to, because I go through my YouTube and I find things to listen to. Sometimes I want to listen to stuff about Afghanistan. And so I listened to that this morning about Afghanistan. And there's like 39 million people in Afghanistan, no different than 39 million people in California. That's crazy. That's a lot of people. I mean, it's a huge country. And so I don't know what the heck we were doing there, but that's a lot of people. You don't get a real true perspective until you understand how many people are in a population. And that's what's so like crazy about this thing with the J juice and 7 billion people. We're not even at 1%. Okay, as far as penetrating the mass level consciousness. So be very thankful that you have this information. Like seriously, be very thankful, because you are part of a minority. Okay. And so anyway, so I was listening to Afghanistan, and then I finally was like, wanted to hear all the different COVID-19 up or I don't know, updates. And, I listened to a lot of Australian news, ABC News in Australia. And then I started listening to the Dr. Fossey and CNBC. And I didn't listen to the whole thing, but what struck me was he was explaining everything that I've been explaining about viruses and what they do. But he's coming from the perspective of attacking evolution, because people don't want to feel pain. So he's explaining the virions. He's explaining the monoclonal antibodies that I talked about a couple months back, where that was my most predominant discovery, was the monoclonal antibodies. But the way they position it, of course, because people don't want to feel pain, is yes, they do produce polyclonal antibodies. Not CDC, but biotech and all the different therapeutics, they have not only monoclonal antibodies, but they have polyclonal antibodies. So that has stuff from the therapeutics and from the environment. And also, when you're getting tested, that's also coming from the population, because it's the only way you're going to get the different antibodies. Excuse my hair, I'm sorry. Is when you were getting it from an infected person. Okay? And so, I'm just going to, all right. So anyways, so he was talking about polyclonal antibodies, and he's saying like it's the most effective way to combat this COVID. And what do they mean by combat? Well, they're trying to lower the symptoms. They try to eradicate the most aggressive symptoms. But symptoms are evolution again, okay? Why are they symptoms? Why are they disease? Because it gets in the way of your life, and they want you to still be productive and not end up in the hospital getting treatments to suppress the energy in the hospital. Because that's what hospitals and the holistic medicine and the energy healing world do, is they suppress the energy. they squelch energy because people don't understand that energy is life. So it's only a disease when it gets in the way of your life. It's not a disease when you're like, okay, my life is set up to deal with evolution. I sleep when I need to. I feel the heat. I eat food when I feel an upgrade from the environment, and I don't have to go out and perform. See, when people have to go out and perform every single day, which is why people are setting themselves up to fail when they are chasing after money, is because they want to stay in a cured state so they can perform on a consistent level, which I get. I understand consistency, but the world is changing now, and you are allowed to work from home. And if you have to evolve, then you must do it at home. They don't want you in the workplace or any place in public where someone else doesn't have the capacity to deal with your evolution. And so there's ways in which you can still evolve in this society and be like so amazing and still make money. Now, it's not going to be a whole lot of money because it does take, well, maybe it will. It just depends on how you go about doing it. But I mean, I don't know how much money you actually need. So when I'm looking at like the Delta Airlines and they're charging people for like $200 if they're not being vectored, I'm like, this is not really about saving lives. This is really about how do you charge somebody for not getting something? I know that if the person doesn't get vectored, they may have more an aggressive evolution, which I can't argue with. That's probably true if they're at a deficit, and that's going to cost their insurance premiums to go up. So that's their surcharge. Okay, I get that too, but it's like I see where they're coming from, but you already set people up to fail. So that's the thing. That's the issue, is that, people are set up to fail. So it's like, then you punish them. And so the way to come about this, if you want 100% effectiveness against death and disease, is that you feed everything. Okay. So eating all food in the food supply, not suppressing your symptoms, and dealing with pain and not demonizing viruses and sugar and the microbiome and salt and proteins, that's 100% effective against all disease and all death. Because eventually when you do deal with all of your diseases, whatever they are, and you feed them, and those are all viruses, latent viruses, when you feed them all, and the body does kick out the ones that may be a bit more anomalous than the rest, then you don't have disease anymore. And then it's just, dealing with the variants as they come through. And so with this society, how aggressive and how mutating this virus is, you're going to be feeling a lot of different variants coming through. But some of you are at a deficit behind the 8 ball, and you haven't really dealt with all of your latent viruses. So those are going to come up in the meantime, which means that you have to sit and feel them. Gone are the days where, if you're at a deficit, that you can go out there and perform and still be evolving. And then maybe you use therapeutics, maybe not, but nobody wants anyone to be evolving in public. Everything must be done privately. It's a trip. And so, so the problems are only problems when it gets in the way of your life, whatever that is. And also denial of a disease, a denial of a problem is also a disease too. Because how do I say this too? Because I was saying that, that I was thinking in my head, well, if you lose friends and people don't like you, it's because you have a disease that's getting in the way of other people's lives in your life. But then people can think that that what I'm doing is getting in the way of their life. And so they think, okay, so Jillian has a disease because she's getting in the way of our life. Da, da, da. Well, that's the thing, is whatever your life is, okay? Your life, if what you're doing gets in the way of your life, and you're seeing problems in your life, and there's issues in your life, then you have a problem and a disease, and you haven't set it up correctly. If I have no problem in my life, then everything is great. I don't have any disease. If I'm going to live indefinitely dealing with all the different variants, I'm not trying to work to somebody else's expectations, then I don't have a problem. That's the thing. So everyone will figure out whether or not they have a problem by looking at what they're denying and what they're ignoring, and also what it is they're dealing with. Okay? And so so if you lose friends because you are finally saying, okay, I don't want to deal with anyone else's problems, it's not that I have a disease, it's the fact that you know, at some point you have to put down boundaries of what you're willing to deal with. And you really want people around you to do the best they can for themselves because they do impact your community. Okay. So, anyways, I'm going to get off of that subject matter for a minute. But the the thing with the young kids and all, they are the ones that spread it around. Yes, because they are evolving. Okay. They don't people don't talk about the elderly and the fact that they are also dropping their latent viruses or the viruses that are plaguing them because when a baby and a child is growing up, they are releasing, and when a person is degrading, they're also releasing. So again, like I said before, when you're growing up in this society and when you're depleting and degrading in the society, you are releasing evolutionary viruses that will impact somebody else. And I remember when I used to go visit my sister a lot when I was up there in California. Not a lot, but every holiday I would go visit, and she had a bunch of kids, and every time I would get sick, it was just evolution. Now, what put me in a cured state was the jelly juice, because I didn't realize the jelly juice can put you in a cured state. So then I noticed that I could be around people and not get sick, but that doesn't mean that that was a good thing. That's the thing people have to understand. It's great to not feel pain. We want to be in a plateau in a cured state. But that's not realistic because a cured state would also work against you, especially over a long period of time. You can be in a cured state temporarily, okay? But you still got to deal with the viruses that have come through that that maybe you did put at bay because you were traveling or you needed to go do something, okay? But then eventually you're going to have to deal with that virus. And so when another virus comes up and wakes up the virus that you put to sleep, then people do is they compound the issue and they take more stuff to suppress that energy. And so that's the thing is it's like the J juice, the retroactive evolution with the J juice is taking all the compound viruses that you have put to sleep for many, many years and again, waking them up, okay, simultaneously. And it may even happen in stages based upon the activation sequence of the J juice and then your environment and then your lifestyle, because some people don't want to deal with that much energy, so they start taking their cannabis or they take other things or they do so much J juice that it puts them in a cure state, so they don't know if they really actually healed and earned that plateau or they just cured that situation with a J juice. See, that's where you have to kind of really understand J juice for what it does, because I eventually reversed my issues. I've been off of the J juice really since I guess the end of 2020, because I think I did do a few waterfalls during 2020, and then 2021 I just tapered off. I didn't. I mean, I maybe did little shots here and there, and then when I had this last COVID, I did a few shots, and now I'm off of the J juice. Now it's just eating the food supply, and I did feel a little bit of leg pain. The other day, my husband said he felt leg cramps last night because he's like, "Don't touch my leg, it hurts right now." I'm like, I was messing with him. But the other day, I did feel some leg pain, and so you're gonna have to feel like all of that retroactive evolution, and it does come in waves, and then it also comes intermittently throughout your exposure to the world. So I don't know. This is like so instead of me saying, well, don't do therapeutics, here's the thing. 100%, if you want to conquer death in a relatively stable society that is evolving, you have to eat all the food supply. You cannot suppress the symptoms. You must deal with all the viruses. You have to understand you have to earn. You have to earn the plateaus. Okay? And so when I got off the J juice, I finally was able to feel stuff. And I felt the headaches. I felt it all. So that's why I get mad at people in my group who are using J juice in reaction to when they've been on it for a long time and they've been using it for a while. And so, and I also see people who are trying to be successful and they're working these jobs that are very, very like high pressure jobs. They have to deal with a lot of people. Their reputation's at stake. They're doing the J juice so they can be clear headed. it is going to suck the life out of you. You will age faster if you keep doing J juice so you can stay in the game. That's the danger of understanding what a cure is. Cures are not your friend. I mean, it gives you a temporary, stability if you have to do stuff because of the outside environment. When you have to adhere to somebody else's rules and regulations, like when you have to get on a plane, you can't be in a fever state. You have to be in negative and show a passport of some sort. Then you have to be in a cure state, but that's going to work against you if you keep continuously traveling to different places. Okay, so those that are highly mobile will be in a cured state of decline, and they're going to have a shortened lifespan because, yes, the atmosphere is going to work against them. Okay, and so that's why I'm just like, okay, those that are still in my group that are or on the J juice, still using it in reaction to, they're not going to last very long either. The key thing is to feel the evolution. It's not a problem when you understand that evolution does take time for you to sleep and to rest and to eat. And so when you have so many responsibilities, like you have kids, you have a job, you have a husband, you have a dog, you have friends, you have social engagements, you have all these clients, you're like, holy crap, you can't afford to be evolving. And that's what our society was set up on. But now society is changing, and it's changing for the better. Only some people who are so greedy, like seriously, so greedy, are not going to realize that society is changing, and they're going to keep continuing doing the same thing they've always done. Now they have a way to kind of put them in a cured state, but even that's going to work against them. And so now society is changing. You don't have to spend as much money on all the crap. Yes, food's going up, but then you don't spend money on the shit that you don't need, like this Christmas. Do your kids need to have all these toys? Okay, I know I think I spent $150 on somebody with their kids where it's like the multiplication tables, the U.S. geography or the geography of the world, all the different planets. Learning and cultivating yourself is going to be the best thing for that child. But if that child is not set up correctly to do that, to handle that kind of, evolutionary education, and they're still used to being entertained by cheap stuff from China, how are they going to evolve in this society? When they're under the impression they have to make all this money because mommy and daddy came from, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and they think chasing wealth and chasing prestige is going to be great, so they're going to be in a cured state, not wanting to feel anything, and they haven't dealt with their predispositions, they're set up to fail. And so it's like, I just like, all right, I'm just done with the world right now. I'm going to sit on my own and do my own thing and just watch the world do what it does. But 100% effectiveness against death and disease is eating all the food and the food supply, understanding that the sugar and the viruses and the microbiome, salt and proteins are your friends. Symptoms are evolution. They're not to be suppressed. The less you're on therapeutics, whatever they are, the less that you put on yourself as far as demanding stress and demanding, type of responsibilities, the more you're able to evolve and take care of yourself. But yeah, again, when people do have a bunch of kids and they could still evolve, but they're going to have to really prioritize. It's not impossible when you have a bunch of kids, but those kids are going to be evolving and they're going to be part of the mainstream because you can't keep your kids locked up homeschool all the time. Okay, they're going to have to interact and have some kind of social interaction. And so I don't know how parents are going to do it this day and age. I don't know. I don't know. And so really right now the power is in the person who has so much ability to be mobile, to be fluid. I don't want to be mobile right now. To be fluid and to understand that you really only need like your computer, your TV, your internet, your food, your shelter, your climate control, your clothing, and your bed. I mean, the basics will get you through all of this because your government's going to keep the infrastructure relatively okay. As far as your protection, you have your own protection as well. Right now, this virus is so amazing and so strong that I don't think people are going to want to do anything unless you invite it in. Okay. And so, you know, I'm very evolutionary. I don't have any kind of therapeutics. So I have a lot of advancement to my DNA, which not many people can handle. That's why I'm saying I'm not doing anything for holidays, nothing, because I will be deadly to those that cannot handle new information. And so there are ways, there's a way to appreciate what's going on. Now, of course, there's people out there that don't give a crap, and if they think you have something that they want, be smart about everything that you're doing. Okay, but I mean, nowadays, I don't know. It's interesting just watching, the law enforcement, and they just had a huge sting with a gang out here. And so even law enforcement's cracking down on a lot of stuff. So just stay in your personal little microbiome. Go out occasionally, and get involved with a little bit of the environment, but not too much, especially if you're just starting the J juice. Because yes, the salt will bring up retroactive evolution, wakes up all the latent viruses, and then you still have to deal with the environment at hand. So there's a lot of things that those that are just starting the JJs are going to have to deal with. And it's going to be painful, yes. But over time, it won't be. I mean, yeah, even though yesterday I was up very early and still very clear headed and solving problems and discovering things, I still needed to fit in time to take a nap. Sometimes I'll just lay on the couch and just close my eyes for a second, and all of a sudden I'm out for like an hour. Okay, and then I wake up and everything is great. The other day, right before my period, I was just tired the whole freaking day, and that was like on Sunday or Saturday. And so I knew that I knew something was going on. I didn't know what it was, and then my period came. So now that's a sign for me to let me know that when I'm that tired and can't get out of it, I'm really, really evolving. So there's a lot of moving parts in our world now, than this new world, and you're going to have to change your lifestyle. If you want to survive all this evolution, you're going to have to change not only your lifestyle, but change your mentality on everything. Because that's why they're cracking down on people who are anti this and anti that, because it's not like it's poisonous. Nothing is poisonous out there. Okay. The only thing that's poisonous is if you're using something that's not FDA approved, like drinking gasoline. That's not FDA approved. So don't drink gasoline. Okay. So if it's FDA approved, it's relatively safe. Now, your biochemistry is going to determine how much evolution it's going to take you to deal with that FDA approved food, drug, or something. But nothing out there that's FDA approved, whatever it is poison. It's a matter of, can your system handle it, and do you know what to do when you feel evolution? And so the stuff that's in the vectors is just the elements, fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals, and viral antibodies that are supposed to then program your body to bring up antagonist antibodies to go after the evolution. So that's why they say it's not altering your DNA. It probably isn't, because your DNA is what it is. It's causing your body to react and create antibodies, polyclonal and monoclonal antibodies, to go after the evolution. Which then, okay, what does that mean? It means that you get exposed to a virus that goes and tries to upload information, the upgrades into your cells, and then the monoclonal antibodies and the polyclonal antibodies go and attack those cells. So essentially attacking you at the micro level, of which I could probably see the connection with leaky gut, though that's not an actual term in the allopathic. But leaky gut is when your immune system has worked against you on such a level that you can't possibly retain the energy of food, because you have so many holes in your gut that is not allowing you to process food correctly. And so, yeah, it's a thing when your immune system is attacking you because you're trying to evolve and you're not retaining energy to replicate cells. And so, but you have to evolve. If the environment is that dynamic, you have to evolve. You have to keep feeding. And so it becomes a vicious circle when you're trying to be in a cured state by taking therapeutics to go after evolution, because your environment is fraught with that specific algorithm that you have those polyclonal antibodies attacking. And so when your body's under a constant attack because you're out there also being exposed to stuff that triggers your immune system, that will also age you faster, because you're not replicating, you're not evolving, you're trying to be in a cured state so you can stay in the game. And this is where the controlled decline is coming into play. And so that's why 100% effectiveness against death and disease is eating all the food supply. Don't suppress your evolution. Don't even use J juice as a cure. Use it as a catalyst. J juice is a catalyst. It is not a cure. If I can get that in your head, that J juice is a catalyst, not a cure, then you'll understand you have to deal with all of that pain and energy that's been suppressed. And you feed it. You feed it, you feed it, you feed it, you eat all the food, meat, milk, cheese, eggs, carbs, sugar, proteins, fatty acid, amino acid, hormones, and minerals. Parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria and viruses are all your friends, and they will be balanced out by, yes, the J juice, because it will finally level the playing field, and it will also they will also work to your benefit. That is your army. When you start suppressing your army, because the viruses are part of your army. Viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria, they're all like kind of mercenaries. Like you're paying them to fight for you. And so let's say you're Afghanistan and you're paying like all these different armies to fight for you. And then you start squelching the energy of the English army, the American army, the Australian army, the German army. Then there's no one left to fight for you and the Taliban wins. That's what goes on in people's bodies, is they have all these mercenaries that are part of them that are fighting for their cause, but they keep squelching their army until there's nothing left. Until then the enemy takes over, like cancer, disease, chronic illness, and autoimmune disorders. And then you won't survive. Now that army will survive for a second, or the one that takes over will survive for a second, but then what happens is the body isn't alive anymore. So then that specific entity that took over your body that caused your death is then going to get released. That's what the spirit is being released. And then that becomes that broken record, that data of broken record that someone else is going to pick up and maybe take on some of those characteristics. Though some people have weird dreams. Those dreams are those viruses that you've taken on that are like broken records, that you could take some of that data and then release the excess. Some kids have dreams of things of other lives. Yeah, those are all the viruses that are from the dead people. Okay, that's really what the viruses are. They're just data. And then the dark matter and the dark energy and the black holes and all that heavy gravity. I mean, it's all the zombie latent viruses, all the DNA, everything, the junk DNA, the junk viruses, the junk data that eventually will get put to use if, let's say right now birds can fly, right? Well, we don't have any humans that can fly without the aid of some kind of jetpack. But will we have an atmosphere could a human like this fly with wings in this atmosphere? Probably not, because we're too heavy. We'd have to have a lot of propulsion. And that's why we have jets that have jet propulsion. Okay? A lot of energy. And I'm watching called Travelers or Time Travelers on Netflix. And they're people from the future going back into the past, trying to save the world because someone found or created an antimatter machine and they're going to explode it. And so then they have to go, or they're going to explode it, but there's an asteroid coming to Earth. And so they have this antimatter machine that's supposed to go and explode that. It may explode, destroy a very small portion, but that energy is supposed to reach that asteroid to then throw it off course. And so, yeah, there's so much possible, but humans have to be brought to different levels of evolution. Right now we're at the most basic level of evolution because we keep dying. Okay, and when you keep dying, there's no freaking evolution. And when you keep dying every 100 years, it's just repeating the same shit. It's just the cycle of revolutions. And so at some point, humans now have to finally evolve and realize how much potential there is in the universe and all the data, and then allowing the atmosphere to support it, and then realizing, yeah, maybe other planets will have that. And maybe the Pegasuses and the unicorns did exist at one point. Maybe the centaurs and all the different mythical creatures from stuff you read about the Greek mythology, they did exist too. And our environment has changed for a lot of reasons: the volcanoes, the sun, and somebody else messing with the microbiome and the atmosphere. So it's like, I don't know. We had giant trees in the past. We had giants of the past. I mean, why don't we have them again? I couldn't tell you. Maybe it's the amount of oxygen, the lack of tall trees because someone chopped them all down and made it more for the diminutive humans that are maybe as tall as 6'8", maybe 7'8". and as short as 4'11" and all that. And so that guy that passed away, that was like 7'8", I think he's out of Minnesota. His name was like Igor. He had, some kind of pituitary type of issue. And I think he would have survived if he understood pain and he kept eating and feeding that virus that caused him to grow. See, we have people who are very, very tall, and we can have taller people than even 7'8" if they understood that pain is healing and pain is growth, and you keep feeding it. Okay? Would there have been a specific, could he have grown? He could have grown very, very tall if he understood the pain, if he understood feeding it. But that guy died because he couldn't handle that much evolution, that much energy in the environment with him still fighting his evolution. And so, yeah, he had a predisposition to be 7'8", but he also was dealing with the evolutionary diseases that go along with that. And the name disease like micro something or macro something, where he has the human growth hormone was just causing him to keep growing and growing and growing and growing. He could have been one of those giants if he would have fed his body correctly. So I can imagine if somebody was given a genetic marker or some kind of genetic upgrade, and it caused their human growth hormone to really cause them to grow, it would be painful, because I had the growing pains when I was a kid. I remember my thighs and my legs were hurting so much certain times of my childhood, and I knew it was growing pains. They told me that was growing pains. But imagine if you were to get injected with something that had that influenced your human growth hormone and caused you to get taller. Yes, it would be painful, but we could have giants in the society if people could handle the pain. We could have a lot of different diverse types of people who could live indefinitely and have specific characteristics that are very unique if you can handle the pain. That's the key thing. If somebody is missing a limb and they eat through the food supply, they stop suppressing the the evolutionary energy, they can regrow that limb. Well, take that from now, let's say you put in some DNA that's allowing a person to have, a tail or something, okay? And they can handle the pain. But then people will try to kill it because they think it's like a devil. So that would be very dangerous for one person or even a group of people to have that type of characteristic that's very, very different. So I'm saying, that no matter what, you all are bioengineered. It's a matter of you want to have uniformity and consistency in the population with no one freaking out. And then we have all these religious nuts out there. They're like, oh my God, this person has this person has that. And so the person who has these issues or has the different characteristics are a target for those that are like cuckoo. And so that's why they're now introducing diversity in our society. First, we have to understand that diversity can also be with the different genders. Okay, and if you can handle the LGBTQ community, then maybe you can handle a unicorn. Maybe you can handle, a half man, half horse, which I know you kind of think is weird, like, oh my God, that's against God and all that. But it's all engineered, it's all bioengineering. That's all it is. But can you handle something different? That's the thing with humans, is we are so programmed to be so freaking rigid. But then it's also a quality of life. Could a person who has a horn and 4 legs, okay, like a centaur, could they be able to make money without being mocked and feared and all that? No, they would have a crappy quality of life. They would only be relegated to the circus. Okay, so we must be able to keep people alive, have diversity, not enslave someone who is different by mocking them or putting them putting them in a show, a spotlight, to make them out to be some kind of, I don't know, circus animal or something. There must be some kind of way that we can still allow so much diversity and amazing things. And if someone does want to fly, let them fly if they can handle it, but don't shoot them out of the sky. But will they have the quality of life? And quality of life is huge. That's the whole point of the J. Juice mentality, is the quality of life. Okay? And setting your life up to handle the evolution in a dynamic society such as this. So the future And biotech are very, very exciting if we can handle the diversity, if we can handle the things that we are just so like against because we don't understand it. And that's the hardest thing, is to get through those types of people who are so rigid, who are so programmed. And it's impossible in some levels and it's possible in other levels. But this virus is going to level the playing field. So anyways, I'm just looking at just how the possibilities of everything. It's so exponential. But you got to survive. You got to survive your own evolution first before we can see the macro level evolution of our society and what could be possible and what kind of world we can live in. That's amazing. You know, I mean, if we do have like a centaur, someone like a centaur, half man, half horse, you know, don't put him on display. Be like, wow, it's kind of cool, and let him live in a. If he can't, like, you know, work with a computer and stuff, then we make sure they have all the things that they need without going overboard. That they have a team of people in this society, because I don't know how much of our society can cater to a half man, half horse. I mean, we could barely cater to people who are handicapped. So how would you cater to society to have someone that's half man, half horse or this without putting them in the circus and having a team of people deal with them? So that's kind of what our society right now is working with, is how are we changing to meet the evolution and the needs of diversity and just, I don't know, there's just so much. When you know you can deal with pain and you know that bioengineering is like awesome, it's awesome if we're able to handle it, you know, in body, mind, and spirit and in the infrastructure. That's what's so exciting. Okay. But I would never want to do something to somebody, you know, like make them into a horse or a half man, half horse, and there's no support, there's no infrastructure for them. That would suck. So that's the thing, is when you bring in diversity, make sure there's an infrastructure to support the diversity. And if there isn't, then why bring in diversity, right? And so that's right now what the system is starting out, is how do we bring diversity and support it, which means change our hearts and minds and have the systems and the laws and the infrastructure give it the allowance, the space to grow and develop. Because we're all unique. We're all awesome. So enjoy your awesomeness and be excited for the future, whatever it is. All right, bye.